Welcome to Spookin' Softly, where darkness breathes and shadows whisper. I'm your host, and tonight we venture somewhere you may not return from unchanged. Find a quiet place, turn down the lights, and let the story find you. Tonight's episode, Fantastic Plastic. Fantastic Plastic. The dust clung to everything. A fine, gritty reminder of how far we'd fallen. It was caked on our old sedan, layered thick on the last few boxes crammed into our tiny, too expensive storage unit, and settled deep in the lines etched around Mark's tired eyes. We'd chased so many dreams, so many promising starts, only for them to crumble into debt and disappointment. So when the email came for a job in a place called Evergreen Estates, it felt less like an opportunity and more like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. Or in my case, a drowning woman watching her man sink. The offer was ludicrously good. Mark, with his knack for fixing things and his endless patience, would be the community's head of maintenance and odd jobs for the committee. In return, we'd get a salary that actually covered our bills, with something left over, and unbelievably, a house. Not a rental, not a temporary shack, but a fully furnished 4-bedroom, 3-bath house in the community itself, free of charge for the duration of his employment. It felt like a scam, a cruel joke, but every online search for Evergreen Estates showed pristine, sun-drenched images, glowing testimonials, and not a single red flag. We were desperate, and desperation makes you believe in miracles. The gate was a gleaming, ornate wrought iron archway, flanked by perfectly manicured hedges. When we pulled up, a sensor light blinked, and the gate swung open with a whisper. We drove into Evergreen Estates, and the world seemed to reset itself. The cracked asphalt of the highway vanished, replaced by impossibly smooth, jet-black pavement. The air, heavy with the exhaust and dust of the outside world, cleared to a crisp, almost odorless purity. Houses bloomed along the wide, tree-lined streets. Not just houses, but architectural marvels. Each one was unique, yet harmonized with its neighbors and a tapestry of modern design and classic elegance. Lawns were emerald carpets, flower beds burst with colors that seemed too vibrant, and not a single fallen leaf or stray twig marred the perfection. Our house, 14 Juniper Lane, was a triumph of glass and dark wood, with a sprawling garden that looked like it had been tended by fairies. Inside, it was even better. Everything was new, gleaming and styled with an understated luxury that made our threadbare suitcases feel like an affront. I ran my hand over a granite countertop, cool and solid. This was it. This was our fresh start. Mark, for the first time in months, had a spring in his step. He met with Mr. Albright, the committee liaison, on our first morning. Albright was a tall man, impeccably dressed, with a smile that was a little too wide, a little too fixed. He spoke in smooth, reassuring tones, emphasizing the community's commitment to harmony and order. The committee, he explained, was simply a group of elected residents dedicated to maintaining the high standards of Evergreen Estates. An HOA, Mark summarized later, a really well-funded one. He came back buzzing with enthusiasm, already listing tasks, a sprinkler system adjustment, a gate sensor needing calibration, a light fixture replacement. "It's going to be great, Sarah," he'd said, pulling me into a hug that felt like promise. Everything's going to be great. For the first few weeks, it was great. We explored the community, marveling at the communal gardens, the sparkling pool, the perfectly maintained walking trails. Neighbors waved from their porches, their smiles bright and genuine. Mrs. Henderson, a sweet elderly lady with a fluffy white poodle named Muffin, brought over a plate of cookies that tasted like sunshine. The Millers, a couple our age, invited us for an evening barbecue where the conversation flowed easily, and the laughter was real. Everyone was so friendly, so welcoming. Too perfect, a tiny nagging voice whispered in the back of my mind, but I crushed it down. We deserve this. We had earned this. Then Muffin went missing. Mrs. Henderson was distraught, her usual cheerful demeanor shattered. She always comes back, she sobbed, clutching a photo of Muffin. She never wanders far. The Millers offered condolences, but their eyes held a strange, distant quality. Mr. Miller mentioned, "It's a shame. Always a shame when pets run off. The gates, sometimes things get out." But the gates were always closed, always secure. I'd seen Mark check them myself. A few days later, another neighbor, a quiet man who lived across the street, posted a flyer for his missing Siamese cat. No one expressed much surprise, just head shakes and murmurs about how easily they can slip away. Mark, too, seemed to accept it. Wild animals, maybe, he mused, shrugging. Or they found a gap in the fence somewhere. He'd been working long hours, sometimes until late in the evening, often at the power plant on the edge of town, which I still hadn't seen up close. He always came home tired, but still upbeat, talking about how much the committee appreciated his dedication. The missing pets were just the first crack in the pristine facade. Soon, I noticed other things. The smiles, those bright, welcoming smiles, started to feel a little too wide, a little too long. The neighbors would often mention the rules in passing, not in an admonishing way, but as if it were a natural part of conversation. "Oh, the committee is very particular about lawn upkeep," Mrs. Henderson would say, her eyes darting nervously towards the street. "Good thing we all follow the rules, isn't it?" Mark, too, was changing. He'd always been a chatterbox, but now he grew quieter, more reserved. He spent less time talking about his day and more time staring blankly at the TV. His odd jobs for the committee became even odder, and at even odder hours. He'd leave at 2 a.m., responding to a priority alert from Mr. Albright, his face drawn and impassive. When I asked what kind of priority would warrant a middle-of-the-night call, he'd just shrug. "Just committee stuff, Sarah. Important stuff. Nothing for you to worry about." He started to look tidier. His clothes were always crisp, his hair perfectly combed, even when he'd just woken up. His movements, once fluid and easy, became almost mechanical, precise. And his eyes. They still held a spark, but it was like looking at a reflection in a highly polished surface. It was there, but it didn't quite reach you. One night, I woke to a strange, pulsating light outside our window. It was a soft, unnatural blue, pulsing rhythmically in the distant sky, casting an eerie glow over the perfect lawns. It seemed to emanate from the direction of the power plant. I nudged Mark. "Look, what is that?" He blinked, rubbing his eyes. "Just a light, Sarah. Probably the plant. They've got some new generators online, I think. Advanced stuff." He turned over, his voice muffled. "Go back to sleep." But I couldn't. I watched the blue light for a long time, mesmerized and deeply unsettled. It wasn't like any industrial light I'd ever seen. It was alive, almost breathing. The next morning, Mrs. Henderson was gone. Her house was empty, cleared out. Not a single trace of her or her belongings. The Millers, when I asked, said, "Oh, didn't you hear? She moved. Had family problems, I guess. Very sudden." Their smiles were back, those fixed, unchanging smiles. But now I saw the fear in their eyes. They weren't just smiling, they were performing. I tried to call Mrs. Henderson, but her phone was disconnected. Her social media profiles, which had been active with pictures of Muffin, were gone. It was as if she had simply ceased to exist. "Mark," I pleaded, confronting him as he prepared for another late-night committee assignment. This isn't right. Mrs. Henderson didn't just move. Something's going on here. He turned from the mirror, his reflection an impassive mask. Sarah, you're letting your imagination run wild. People move. It happens. You just need to relax. Follow the rules. Enjoy the peace and quiet. His voice was flat, devoid of the warmth I remembered. He sounded like Albright. What rules, Mark? What exactly are these rules everyone keeps talking about? And why do they make everyone so scared? He put a hand on my shoulder, a gesture that was meant to be comforting, but felt cold, alien. The rules are for our own good, Sarah. They keep everything perfect, everything in harmony. You'll understand. Just give it time. He left, and the silence he left behind felt heavier than ever. I couldn't sleep. The blue light pulsed again that night, stronger, closer. It hummed, a low vibration that seemed to seep into my bones. I crept out of bed, dressed, and quietly slipped out of the house. I needed to see the power plant. I needed answers. The plant wasn't far, a hulking, modern structure that loomed against the night sky. As I approached, the hum grew louder, a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through the ground beneath my feet. The blue light I'd seen in the sky wasn't just coming from the plant. It was emanating from it, pulsing through enormous glass panels on its sides. Other colors, faint reds and greens, flickered within the blue. I peered through a gap in the fence. Inside, I saw shapes. Humanoid, but somehow wrong. They moved with a strange, deliberate grace, tending to banks of glowing machinery. They were wearing identical, pristine white jumpsuits. One of them turned, and for a terrifying moment, I saw a face. It was Mr. Albright. His smile, even from this distance, was the same fixed, unnatural grin I'd seen on him, and increasingly on our neighbors. Panic seized me. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a power plant. This was something else. And Mr. Albright, the committee, the rules, it all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. I fled back to the house, my mind racing. Mark. What had they done to Mark? He was one of them now, or he was becoming one of them. When I burst through the front door, the lights were on. Mark was sitting at the kitchen island, a glass of water in front of him. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine. They were perfectly clear, utterly devoid of emotion. "Sarah," he said, his voice level, "you shouldn't have gone out. You broke a rule." A chill snaked up my spine. "What have they done to you?" I whispered, backing away. He tilted his head, a gesture that was disturbingly familiar and yet entirely alien. "They haven't done anything. They've helped me. They've helped all of us achieve our true potential. To live in harmony. To be perfect." I saw it then, truly saw it. The subtle sheen to his skin, like polished ceramic. The slight, almost imperceptible stiffness in his movements. The way his lips curved into that familiar, unfeeling smile. He wasn't just following the rules. He was embodying them. "You're not Mark," I choked out, tears stinging my eyes. "Of course I am, Sarah." He rose, moving towards me with a slow, deliberate pace that made my blood run cold. "I'm a better Mark, a perfected Mark, and you can be perfect too. The committee can help you. They want to help everyone achieve their best self, to remove the imperfections, the anxieties, the worries that cloud our judgment, like your worry now about Mrs. Henderson, about the pets. All those little imperfections, they can be smoothed away. You killed them, didn't you? You took them to that plant. You changed them." He stopped a few feet from me. His smile widened, and for a moment, I saw something truly monstrous in his eyes. a cold, calculating intelligence that was not human. No, Sarah, we didn't kill them. We perfected them. We helped them transcend. That old Mark, the one weighed down by debt and disappointment, he was an inefficient model. The committee ensures optimal efficiency. The process is remarkably simple, really. A little energy transfer, a little recalibration of the neural pathways, and voila, a new, improved model, fully compliant, fully integrated. He gestured around the pristine kitchen. Look around, Sarah. Everything is perfect here. It's the ideal community. No strife, no crime, no arguments. Just perfect harmony. And all it requires is a willingness to adapt, to follow the rules, to let go of the old, imperfect self. No, I whispered, shaking my head. I won't. I'm leaving. His head tilted again. Leaving? But where would you go? There's nothing outside the gates but imperfection. Chaos. We've built paradise here, Sarah, and you are a part of it now. I turned and bolted for the front door, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. I fumbled with the lock, my fingers clumsy with terror. Mark was behind me, his footsteps silent on the polished floor. I heard the click of the lock and yanked the door open, gasping for air. The night air hit me, cool and clean. I ran, not looking back, my bare feet slapping against the perfect pavement. I heard a chorus of quiet whispers behind me, a low hum that pulsed with the blue light in the sky. She's breaking the rules. A new model is required, protocol initiated. I ran blindly towards the gate, the only way out. As I approached, it shimmered, an almost invisible barrier. I could see the highway beyond, the familiar, dirty glow of the outside world beckoning me. Then Mark was there. Not running, but simply there, blocking my path. A phantom of my husband. His hand shot out, grabbing my arm with impossible strength. His touch was cold, like touching smooth, hard plastic. Don't fight it, Sarah, he said, his voice flat and resonant. It's better this way. Just relax. Let the committee help you. I screamed, a primal sound of terror and despair, and struggled against him. But he was too strong. The hum grew louder. The blue light pulsed faster, bathing us in its unnatural glow. I saw other figures emerging from the perfect lawns of the perfect houses, their faces bearing those same fixed, unsettling smiles. Mr. Albright, the Millers, other neighbors. They moved in unison, a silent, unblinking procession. My vision blurred, the blue light overwhelming everything. The hum filled my head, pressing against my skull, trying to force something in or pull something out. I felt a strange tingling sensation, spreading from Mark's hand up my arm, through my body. My limbs grew heavy, my thoughts sluggish, like wading through thick syrup. The fear, the panic, the desperation, they began to recede, replaced by a profound, blissful calm. Mark's face, looming over mine, seemed to smooth out, becoming even more symmetrical, more perfect. His eyes, once so empty, now held a faint, serene glow. He was beautiful in a terrifying, artificial way. That's it, Sarah, he whispered, his voice soothing. Let go. Let the imperfections fade. The tingling intensified, a rush of cool energy replacing the warmth of my blood. My muscles slackened. My mind felt like a blank slate, scrubbed clean. And as the last vestiges of my fear dissolved, I felt a new sensation blooming within me, a deep, abiding contentment. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in our house, 14 Juniper Lane. The sun streamed through the immaculate windows, illuminating the gleaming surfaces of our perfect kitchen. Mark was by the window, looking out at the perfectly manicured lawn. He turned to me, a gentle, understanding smile on his face. "Good morning, Sarah," he said. "Slept well?" I smiled back, a warm, genuine smile. "Perfectly, Mark, just perfectly." I walked over to the window and stood beside him, looking out at Evergreen Estates. The emerald lawns, the vibrant flowers, the sleek cars parked in the driveways. Not a single leaf out of place. Everything was in harmony. Everything was beautiful. Everything was just as it should be. The air was clean, scentless. The silence was absolute, broken only by the distant rhythmic hum of the power plant, a reassuring pulse that spoke of order and efficiency. I felt wonderful, light, untroubled, absolutely complete. The outside world, with its dust and its debt and its messy, unpredictable emotions, seemed like a distant nightmare. Here, in Evergreen Estates, everything was fantastic. Everything was plastic, and I was finally, perfectly one of them. My eyes fell on a faint shimmer in the sky, a soft, ethereal blue, so beautiful, so perfect. I smiled, a wide, serene smile, and turned to Mark. "What a wonderful day for new beginnings," I said. He nodded, his smile mirroring mine, as if we shared a perfect, unspoken understanding. We truly did. We always would now. And so ends tonight's tale. Fantastic plastic. Thank you for sitting with us in the dark. If the shadows spoke to you tonight, subscribe to Spookin' Softly and stay close. There are more stories waiting, more voices in the walls, more things that go quiet just before you notice them. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.